The afternoon started off like any other day. Sunny skies, busy sidewalks, and laughter spilling out of Jefferson Suburban School as students rushed into freedom. Yet for the three girls, everything felt off kilter. While the world seemed bright and at peace, Arya Thompson, her younger sister Hazel, and their friend Mina walked out with a dread twisting in their stomachs. To everyone else, the day was normal. Yet to them, it was another countdown toward the same nightmare. Every afternoon, like clockwork, four older boys transformed the quiet street behind the school into a hunting ground. Today, as the girls clutched their backpacks and kept their heads down, they could feel trouble already lurking for them, like a shadow that would never leave. Before continuing, if you believe in justice, kindness, and standing up for the vulnerable, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Real Kindness Stories. Your continued support helps powerful stories, like this one, reach more hearts. 16-year-old Arya had always carried the weight of being the protector, steady, responsible, fiercely devoted to Hazel. Hazel was only 14 and thus gentle, timid, far too quiet for the world's cruelty. Mina was 16, hiding her fear behind thick glasses and thoughtful silence. They walked together every day, home hoping the bullies would leave them alone. They never did. Weeks had passed, and Brett, Ryan, Mason, and Cole had terrorized the road behind the school. They stole backpacks, tore notebooks out of arms, and shoved them into fences for the fun of it, teasing them when they cried. Every younger student knew their names, words spoken like a warning. Teachers tried to intervene, but they waited just off school property, a place no grown-up wanted to claim responsibility for. What hurt most wasn't the shoving or the fear. It was the silence of every single person who watched from their windows and did nothing. Then came the Thursday that changed everything. The day was still, the sky a gentle cream, but it didn't matter, because as soon as they stepped out onto the street, the boys closed in. Brett yanked Hazel's backpack so hard she went down onto her knees. Mason dumped Mina's books across the pavement. Arya tugged at her sister to pull her up and was shoved hard into the bushes. Normally, the girls kept quiet, praying that the boys would get bored. This time, though, the bullies didn't want to stop. Maybe it was ego. Maybe it was cruelty. Maybe they had simply realized that nobody ever stopped them. What none of them knew was that fate had placed the right people on that street at the perfect moment. A group of bikers from the local Veterans Riding Club, men known for discipline, strength, and unwavering protection, were cruising down that selfsame neighborhood after a charity event. Up front was Rowan Kaler, a weathered man in his late 40s with the kind of presence that made strangers instinctively straighten their backs. Behind him rode Logan Creed and Hunter Vale, two men who'd seen enough real danger to recognize something wrong long before anyone else did. The movement caught Rowan's attention, and his bike began to slow. Logan hunched forward. Hunter's eyes narrowed. They weren't seeing kids playing in the neighborhood courtyard. They were watching a girl fall, Hazel, her knee scraping against pavement, as Brett laughed at her tears. Rowan hit his brakes so hard that his tires shrieked across the asphalt. The three motorcycles halted together, as solid and intimidating as a barricade of steel, and the three froze. For a moment they didn't know whether these men were another threat, or a miracle sent at the perfect moment. One by one, the bikers peeled off their helmets. The lines around, Rowan's eyes hardened. Logan's eyes darkened. Hunter's jaw tightened, saying not a word. Rowan took a step forward, strong, calm, fearsome, in a way that sent even the fearless boys backward a step. They did not know it yet, but their world was about to change forever. They tried to stand their ground, but quivering hands and shrinking stances gave them away. For weeks they had acted like they ran this street, but standing face to face with men who had survived real battles, their bravado disappeared. In a split second, Rowan didn't yell. He didn't have to. His presence alone drained every shred of arrogance from the boys' faces. Slowly, the bikers stepped shoulder to shoulder, forming a solid phalanx of leather and steel between the girls and their tormentors. For the first time, Arya, Hazel, and Mina felt the air shift. The sunlight was warmer. The street grew still, as if the world itself had stopped to watch justice finally arrive. He motioned for the boys to kneel, not to humiliate them, but so that they would confront the weight of their own acts. The boys looked around desperately, but the street was no longer deserted. Neighbors, parents, adults who had been quietly watching behind curtains were standing outside now, witnessing it all. This time, no one looked away. This time, no one shrugged. This time, no one said, "They're just kids." Finally, with bikers present, the entire community was standing. Arya stood behind Rowan, her heart still pounding but steadier than before. Hazel wiped the last of her tears, and Mina tightened her grip on her bag as realization finally washed over her. Sometimes kindness comes in a wrapping of tattoos, leather vests, and unwavering courage. No violence was needed. No fists, no threats. Rowan merely held a wooden stick at his side, but not to use, rather as a reminder that bullying involves repercussions. He didn't intimidate anyone through fear. Instead, he demanded accountability with calm authority. He then ordered the boys to pick up every scattered book and pencil, apologize clearly, no mumbling, no sarcasm, and face the families they had tormented for weeks. Humiliation burned on their faces as they obeyed, but something far more powerful filled the air: relief. For the first time in weeks, the girls breathed freely. What struck them most wasn't the fear the bikers inspired in the bullies. Rather, it was the instinctive protection they offered to complete strangers. When he finally turned to the girls, his voice gentled. He asked if they were hurt, if they needed help, and if they had felt alone during all of this. Arya nodded quietly. Rowan placed a hand over his heart and said, "You won't be alone again." And he meant it. Everything changed from that day on. They did not only stop, the bullies vanished from the girls' sight altogether. They avoided looking at them, the street, or anything that would put them face to face with the bikers once again. And soon, word spread through the neighborhood. The Veterans Riding Club had intervened, not with fists, but with a firm, protective presence that no one dared challenge. Parents started paying closer attention. Teachers didn't dismiss complaints anymore, and the girls slowly, bit by bit, regained what the bullies had taken from them. Confidence, the road, which had once filled them with dread, felt safe now. They walked home, chatted, laughed, and rediscovered what it means to be teenagers, not survivors. They focused on their grades, their dreams, their music, their joy. And every afternoon, as the bikes rumbled past the school on their daily ride, Rowan, Logan, and Hunter would give the girls just a simple nod, a silent promise that they were protected. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of how powerful it is to stand up for others, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Real Kindness Stories. Your support helps keep these true and meaningful stories alive. Before we wrap things up, leave a comment below with something that you think every kid needs to hear, because in the end, kindness always has to win. And remember, sometimes the real heroes are found in those we would least expect, the ones bearing scars, riding steel, and choosing to protect rather than harm.